right, we are back for another episode of Power 5 Picks. I'm here with Ethan. Ethan, week 11 college football. We have four top 25 matchups. We added in another one with an unranked opponent, but it's flying by way too fast. I know we have some important games coming up, but there's 3 games left in the regular season. I don't know where the time went. I'm getting a little sad, not going to lie. A little sad, a little scared, a little bit of everything right now.
Yeah, I this is the fastest any college football year I think is gone for me. It's just, yeah, like you said, flown right by. I don't know if I've been more invested this year, so it's making it go quicker or what's going on. I'm having success this year, which I got my ass kicked last year. I couldn't wait for the season to end. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I cannot believe it's week 11. Sucks.
It's it sucks. And I think I think we're so invested in it that it's flying. Like I literally from 10 a.m. on Saturday until 1 in the morning until the Pac-12 game is done, I'm sitting up here watching every single game or every single game that I can get on 4 screens. I'm like, it's not like I'm going out and doing things. Like I'm watching these games sitting down, like spending 10 hours a day, and it's flying by. So yeah, I can't explain it. I think that's just a funny thing with time. But yeah, I'm getting sad, more nervous because my boys have a big game this weekend. But also, I mean, 3 weeks left, and then oh god, thank God the NFL goes late. But
Right.
last week you jump ahead on the rankings. You are now 16, 13, and 1. You went 3-2 last week. I went 2-3. I'm sitting at 15, 14, and 1. So we're both over 50%. You had a couple good wins on the Bama line. We both were correct on OK State, who won outright. You also had Missouri, who were competitive, 9-point loss to Georgia on the road. And then I believe that we are both off on the USC, never betting that team again. Um, we could have added them to this list because they are playing Oregon. It's still going to be a pretty competitive game, 7-3 USC versus 8-1 Oregon. But they've been on this show too many times and they've lost too many times. They don't belong back on this show. So I hope we don't talk about them again. I know you feel the same way about those frauds over in Southern Cal.
Yeah. They were my 2 unit play on the weekend last week, and yeah, frauds. Went 3-2, so I broke even, but God, I can't believe I laid 2 units on that team.
Yeah, they are. God, Caleb Williams. I'm not sure how I feel about that guy, but yeah, let's just get into it. I saved the best game for last, of course, and no, the best game is not Georgia Ole Miss. For anyone wondering, there's another game much more important. 2 actual football teams playing, but we'll get to that one last. As always, I kind of have you where I think you're picking, so I want to see how accurate I am. But the first game up, a Pac-12 game, Utah number 18 is traveling to number 5 Washington. Washington is an 8.5-point favorite at home. Over under is 50. What do you got here?
I hate this game. This is probably my least favorite on the card that we're talking today. So um, take that for what you will. But I'm going to lean Utah plus the points. It's the slightest lean. I don't have a great feel for this game. Obviously, we stepped in front of Washington last week against USC. Thought it was a better spot for USC. Washington was still able to win and cover in that game. So Washington just keeps winning, keeps finding ways to win. Had a couple of close ones. Only beat Stanford by 9 points. Only beat Arizona State by 8 points in an ugly game. So they just keep winning. Kind of ugly. Not really blowing anyone out. Um, but yeah, their destiny is in their own hands. If they win out, win the Pac-12, they likely make the playoff. So I do think they keep winning here, but I think 9.5 is a shade too high. Utah has been keeping it relatively consistent. They did have that blowout loss to Oregon. Other than that, beat USC, that fraudulent team. Just coming off a win against Arizona State, which was kind of a get right spot after the Oregon loss. Um, and they too kind of this is the biggest game left on their schedule, so I think they get up for it. So yeah, like I said, I don't love this game whatsoever. I'd maybe lean under. I think we see more of a defensive battle in this one. Um, and I'll take the points with Utah, but not a strong play whatsoever.
Yeah, I had you on the right spot there. I'm also on Utah. Once again, like you, don't have a super strong feeling about this game, but I don't know. I think 8.5 points is not enough for Washington, honestly. So that line seems a little fishy to me. If you look at it as an inexperienced bettor looks at that game, you see that Utah lost to Oregon 2 weeks ago. Kind of got spanked around. I think it was like 35-7, something like that. And then Washington, as we all know, beat Oregon. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking at that and be like, wow, Utah really struggled with Oregon, who, in my opinion, I think is the better team than Washington. Just couldn't get the win at Washington. And they're going to see that Washington beat this team. So I think people are going to be on Washington's, plus the win last week against USC. They kind of got it figured out. But if you look at Washington's, besides that USC game, they really struggled their two other games. I don't remember who they played, but I think they struggled against Stanford and then struggled against Arizona State, I believe. Two ugly games there. So I think we're going to get a similar kind of feel in this game. I do think Washington's going to win, but I think 8.5 is too much points for a game that I think goes soaring under 50. I think this is going to be kind of back to where Washington was against that Arizona State team, 14-9. I think that game was. I think there are going to be a little more points than that, but again, Utah, great defense. Their quarterback looked phenomenal last week against Arizona State. I think it was Arizona State, 55-7. I think Utah won, which that's not a number that Utah usually wins by. But I think this game stays under, and I think Utah just hangs in there enough. I'll say they'll lose by a touchdown. So I'm happy with the 8.5. I don't think it's enough points for Washington, honestly. So it's a little bit of a trap line, but yeah, that's kind of where my head's at there. Big SEC game, not the biggest game, but another big SEC game. Number 13 Tennessee at number 14 Missouri. Tennessee is a 1.5 point favorite on the road. Over under sitting at 57, high over under. So I'll start with this one. Both these teams, I can't get a good read off these teams. I mean, Tennessee lost to Bama, good loss, sure. They battled. They were in it and then fell apart in the late third, early fourth quarter there. And then they lost to Florida, bad loss to Florida. And then Mizzou has lost to two good teams, Georgia and LSU. I don't know. I think these teams are very evenly matched. I think that's kind of the reason it's a 1.5 point spread. I kind of was expecting Missouri, honestly, to be the favorite here. But I'm going to have to go with, I mean, Missouri looked good against Georgia. They lost by 9 points. Were in it the whole game at Georgia. I think Missouri should have been favorited. So I'm going to go Tennessee. It's an ugly line there, but I don't know. I'm going to trust that Vegas has it right here. But yeah, both these two games we're talking about, I don't love either. I don't know if I'm going to be betting either. I don't have a great confidence level on either of these two. But I'll go Tennessee just because it fits into my system of it's not quite the right line, in my opinion.
Yeah, this game's tough for me. This is my second least favorite on the board that we're talking. So, again, take that for what you will. But yeah, this is tough. I mean, Tennessee has Georgia on deck. Like you said, Missouri off the Georgia loss. So, it kind of just, that's tough. I don't know if Tennessee is going to look ahead to Georgia or if they just want to take care of the games that they feel like they have a better shot of winning. Coming into the show, I was going to give out Missouri. I think I'm flipping to Tennessee here. I think Tennessee is going to be a little bit more focused on getting this win and staying at that 2 losses on their season. Meanwhile, Missouri, like I just said, off the Georgia loss. Not that they had playoff aspirations coming into the year, but I think as the year went on, they were kind of like, okay, there's actually a chance we could do this. Well, now they have their second loss. Now they have no chance. Kind of just want to get through the rest of the season as best they can. Yeah, just feel like this could be a touch of a letdown spot. They gave a huge effort against Georgia, played really tight. So, yeah, just I could see this being a tough one for them to come back and give a big effort against Tennessee. So, slight lean towards the road team here. But yeah, again, just a lean. Not sure how Tennessee is going to react with Georgia on deck.
Yeah, I had you at Mizzou on this one, not going to lie. But I mean, this game's such a coin flip that it's too hard to predict, in my opinion. The biggest game, if you're south of Indiana and Ohio, is Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss, number 9 in the country, traveling to number 2 Georgia. Georgia is an 11-point favorite at home. Over under is 58. Now, before I'm going to give it to you first here, but I'm just going to say a couple things about Georgia. Yes, they have a gauntlet right now. They just played Missouri. Now they play Ole Miss, and then they play Tennessee next week. And we'll talk about this a little bit at the end when we talk about Michigan, Penn State. But Georgia, I mean, they're yes, it was a good win against Missouri. Wasn't a great win, but it was also at home. Now they're playing Ole Miss, also at home. Then they go and play a Tennessee team that's not nearly good enough Tennessee team to compete in. I don't even know if they should be 13. I think it's a little high, honestly. That loss to Florida is terrible. But they play at Tennessee there. So if you're talking about Georgia's schedule, it's really, I mean, two home games. I don't know. I don't really buy it. So we'll talk about that in a second. Just keep that in the mind. But what are your thoughts? It's a super high spread, but yes, the best team is at home. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I was just looking up to see if Georgia lost to Tennessee last year, but they did not. Um, this is tough too. Coming in, I liked Georgia, um, but I think we could see a big effort out of Ole Miss just because this could be um, just a statement win for them. Keeps them at one loss in the SEC, um, and that loss would be to Alabama. So real no shame there, but I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna go Georgia minus the points. I think Georgia's just higher up in class. I think there's the better team. Um, like you said, they're kind of in a gauntlet right now. Got the win over Mizzou. I think they just kind of keep finding ways to beat these teams. And yeah, I mean, Ole Miss is 8-1, but I'm really not too impressed with Ole Miss this year. Don't think they're finding ways to win. They're winning these games, beating the teams on their schedule, but I just don't see them as one of these juggernaut teams. Like I don't see them as a top 10 team, even though they're ranked top 10. Um, I just think Georgia kind of has their way with Ole Miss this week. So again, a slight lean. I probably won't be betting this game. I could see Ole Miss coming in and giving a huge effort, keeping this close, maybe like a 9-point game as well, like Mizzou just did. Um, but my gut's just telling me Georgia probably wins this one by 2 scores. So I will somewhat reluctantly lay it with Georgia.
Yeah, I had you at Ole Miss there, so I got you flipped. Yeah, I don't love this. Bad loss to Bama. I mean, 10-24. It's not a bad loss, but they just didn't look like they could do anything. Ole Miss did against Bama, and then I believe they beat LSU in a shootout, 59-49. I think that score was. So they did have a good win there, but yeah, I'm just a little thrown off with Georgia right now. They're just not playing well, which means they're going to play through the roof this weekend. But I'm going to go Ole Miss here, plus 11. I think they have enough firepower to stay in it. But then again, I thought that same thing against Bama, and they just couldn't do anything offensively. And I think Georgia's defense is much better than Bama's. So I'm a little worried in that, but I don't know. Georgia is just doing everything they can to squeak pie. They're just not, besides the one bet we had against Kentucky, they're not really jamming it down people's throats right now. They're just doing what they can, winning. Doesn't really look like they care that much. Like they're just doing their job, which is kind of what Georgia's always been known for. But I don't know. I think Ole Miss can hang in there. Just they have a lot of firepower offensively. Jackson Dart's been playing pretty well this year, so I'm going to go Ole Miss plus 11. Again, these first three, I don't really love at all, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I think if you, I don't think there's a huge advantage of betting these big ranked games this weekend. There might be a slight edge in that Michigan Penn State game, but these other games, I don't love them. I think there might be some more value in some of these unranked opponents. So if you do want information on those, make sure you check us both out on Twitter, and then we might have a couple blogs out on Better and Green as well. But we'll have a bunch of college football plays, at least myself, come Saturday. So if you want a couple other plays that aren't these ranked matchups, go ahead and check those out. So yeah, I'm gonna go Ole Miss again. Don't love this. Probably won't bet it. The next game again, we probably could have put that USC game here, but I'm done talking about them. We have so I decided to put Bama in this one. Bama's playing pretty well. They might be a college football playoff team, especially if they win out. They're looking good right now, which is scary. But Bama, number 8, traveling to Kentucky. Bama's 11-point favorite on the road. Over under set at 47. Kentucky's lost 3 of their last 4. And they are to the big teams. They lost to Tennessee by 6 points, Missouri by 7 points, and then we talked about it a couple weeks back. They lost to Georgia by 38 points. So against these real opponents, Kentucky's been struggling. Are they going to struggle? Are they going to cover? They're going to struggle. Are they going to cover against Bama this weekend? What do you think?
I think they are. I kind of like Kentucky.
Wow.
I kind of like Kentucky in this matchup. The reason
Okay.
being, I
I was
think it,
off on that one.
I think it could be a flat spot for Bama. Tennessee and LSU were, I think, just two circled huge games for them after losing to both those teams last season. So I think they really wanted those wins against the two ranked teams. Revenge spot, got them both done. Um, I wish the Auburn game was on deck here. It'd be a smash spot on Kentucky for me. They do have Chattanooga on deck, so they should be fairly focused on Kentucky. But yeah, I think Kentucky gets a little bit of confidence back after finally getting a win last week against Mississippi State, which not a great win by any means, but like you said, they had lost the previous three, so I think it's good that they got a win back in their win column. Um, yeah, I just think it's too many points at home for Kentucky when I just don't know if we're going to see the best effort from Bama. However, I do hope Bama wins. I think Bama wins. I do have a 40-1 ticket on Bama to win the championship. So it's looking better and better by the week. So I do hope they at least make the playoffs, and then I can kind of hedge out if I need to from there. But yeah, give me Bama to win the game, but I think Kentucky keeps it close.
Yeah, I am unfortunately on Kentucky as well. And I don't love that because Bama's playing really good ball right now. But I mean, besides that Georgia game, again, we are both on Georgia to destroy Kentucky in that game. It's a super bad spot for Kentucky. Georgia had a lot to prove. It was their first kind of competitive game. Um, so that was a bad spot for Kentucky. But then you look at these other two games, and I'm not saying Missouri and Tennessee are fantastic teams. I kind of just crapped on both of them when we talked about their matchup. But they won or they lost by 6 and 7. So it was a one-score game. Obviously, Bama's on a different level than Tennessee and Missouri, but I don't think Bama's quite on Georgia's level yet. So I think Kentucky stays in it. I agree. I actually love this over. It's at 47. If you look at Kentucky's record or schedule against these, ranked, high-ranked teams, they're scoring in the 60s almost in every single game total. So I think that Missouri-Kentucky game was like 38-31. Tennessee was somewhere similar to that. Both teams, I think 20 to 27-33 or something like that. And then the Georgia game was a murdering, but they're scoring some points in these big games. Bama is starting to score it on offensively, and I think Kentucky can hang around and get some points up as well. So I actually really like the over of 47. For the graphic wise, I will pick Kentucky plus the 11 here. And then the big boy game of the weekend. You ready for it?
Ready for it.
Rutgers, Iowa, over under 28.5.
I would never bet an over in an Iowa game.
I know. I bet it every week, and it just doesn't win. The best part about the over in the Iowa games is a touchdown, a quarter, you're on pace. So you're just
True.
you're like, wow, this isn't going well. And you're like, well, I had 2 field goals in the first quarter. I'm kind of on pace. So, yeah, over 28.5 is minus 105. So we might get that down to 28 points pretty soon here. But no, the big boy game, it is in the Big Ten. It is the Wolverines, number 3, traveling to Penn State, number 10 in the country. Michigan's a 4.5-point favorite on the road. Over under sitting at 45. Now I'm going to send it to you first because if you can't tell, I'm taking over Connor Stallion's apartment. But what's happening with this spread with this line is absolutely terrifying. First of all, Michigan opened up as a 7-point favorite. I believe that was on Saturday or Sunday. Line has now dropped to 4.5 in favor of Michigan, so 2.5 points there. Michigan, I believe the last I saw on DraftKings was getting almost 80% of the spread bets. And the line's still continuing to fall in favor of Penn State. So as a bettor and a guy that bets a lot and me and you both kind of look at this thing, this is screaming Penn State. It's absolutely screaming Penn State. It means the public and a bunch of chums like me and you, well, not me and you in this aspect, but a bunch of chums are taking Michigan to cover this game. And all these big boy bettors that are betting, $500+ on a game, probably close to $1,000 to $10,000 dollars on a game, are influencing this line because they're throwing it on Penn State. So that's what terrifies me. And I know you see that. So I'll send it over to you because obviously it's pretty obvious what I'm going to pick. So, and my pick isn't knowledgeable, or it's knowledgeable, but should you tail a guy that's maybe as dedicated as Connor Stallion's? Probably not, but I'll send it to you first.
Yeah, I think Wyatt's gonna be on the sidelines here pretty soon, taking over for Stallions full time. So if you see him there, don't acknowledge. But yeah, I mean, you spelled it out for me. I gotta go Penn State with the movement going on. Not only that, but I do think we see a big effort from Penn State since they do have the loss already to Ohio State. Heading into the year, everyone knew this was a three-horse race between Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. And Penn State's real only chance here is to beat Michigan, have Michigan beat Ohio State, and then have the all three teams with a loss. So if Michigan loses, they still have the chance to beat Ohio State, which um, probably still gives them the best resume of the three teams if they're able to do that. So I do think we see a big effort at home from Penn State. I'll take the points with them at home. My fear is obviously everything going on in the media with Michigan, which I know was a big emphasis for you last week. Uh, I was on Purdue, as we know, but I just didn't think they cared about this game or that game. Obviously, they care about this one. So I do think they could use that for some firepower. And then lastly, I forgot which game it was, if it was the regular season Ohio State game last year, or I think it was the Big Ten championship Ohio State game. To me, that screamed terrible spot for Michigan, great spot for Ohio State. I thought Ohio State was going to come out there and kill them, and it didn't happen. So, um, not that Michigan's immune to bad spots, but it's just I've been pretty confident against them before, and it didn't work out. So that is my fear going against Michigan. I guess another fear would be they really haven't played anybody, so it's tough to know how truly good they can be. On the other hand, Penn State hasn't played anybody other than Ohio State, and they lost, so tough to tell with them too. I'll be watching this game just as a football fan. I know you'll obviously be watching as a huge Michigan fan, so I'm kind of excited to not have really a horse in this race. Just watch for pure entertainment and really get a feel for how both these teams are. But yeah, curious to know what you think. Again, I like Penn State plus the points for the graphic.
Yeah, if I wasn't a diehard Michigan fan, I would take Penn State. Unfortunately, I just can't do that. So I am on Michigan. I'm gonna say I'm not gonna bet it, but come Saturday, I 100% will be betting Michigan. I'm just gonna be honest. Yeah. So yeah, everything I've already said it screams Penn State. I'm not gonna say any more on that. I am worried because I think I know exactly what Penn State's going to do. Michigan's run offense has not been what it was last year. Michigan's looking really good offensively, but you look at their numbers, their rushing's not even close to what it was last year. They're looking really good because JJ finally figured out how to throw football, how to hang in the pocket, extend plays. So JJ's been playing his balls off. So that's kind of the reason Michigan's offense is looking great. Now it would be nice if we could have a run game, but we haven't been able to establish one, and we haven't played anyone, so that scares me. Penn State, great D line, great backers. So Penn State's going to stop Michigan's run. It's going to force the game into JJ's hands. JJ's done well all year with that. Can he do it on the big stage at a top 10 team on the road? Like that's what scares me. And I'm just gonna have to bet on my guy and hope he does. But I am very nervous that he's gonna make some mistakes, maybe a couple poor decisions. And I think Penn State, honestly, Penn State's only way to win this game is to control the ball, control the clock, 8 to 9 minute drives, and that's all they're going to do. I mean, if you watch Penn State versus Ohio State, they threw one pass over 16 yards. Like Penn State did nothing. They looked miserable. And Michigan's defense, in my mind, probably extremely biased, is better than Ohio State's. So I think Penn State's really going to struggle offensively, but I think their defense is going to really give Michigan problems in the running game and then force the game on JJ, which again, he's done great all year, but could it be that Bowling Green game where he throws 3 interceptions in the first half? I don't know. So I like the under 45. Again, I don't bet Michigan unders because I hope Michigan wins by 60 every game, but very nervous for this. I do think Michigan has a bunch of motivation, as you just said, with the sign stealing stuff. Obviously, people are dissing their how good they are with their strength of record, strength of schedule. All very valid things, but I think Michigan is kind of that team this year that it's kind of them versus everyone. I think they're really taking that mindset to heart. So I'm gonna really just hope they come out and ball. I kind of hope it's kind of a similar game as to last year. I think Michigan won 41-17, just ran it down their throats. Yeah, I've been feeling bad about Michigan for multiple games. I felt bad both last year against Ohio State and 2 years ago against Ohio State. And Michigan proved me wrong both games. So I'm just really hoping they prove me wrong. I just have a really, really, really bad feeling about this game. And it scares me. It terrifies me. Could very much ruin my weekend, ruin my year. But got to take my boys -4.5. That was a very long explanation for a bet that I'm just going to take after 2 beers on Saturday and throw way too much money on it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Michigan, but I'm nervous. Definitely nervous.
I will say in the long run, if Michigan does lose this game to Penn State and they meet up with Ohio State's undefeated. Love Michigan in that game. So
Yeah.
I would like Michigan more with a loss against Ohio State than I would both undefeated. And you might get to go to the game for cheaper.
That's true. That
Silver
is true.
lining.
I know. There's a silver lining in anything. If I was smart, I'd take Penn State plus a point, so I'd emotionally hedge myself. So if I lost, I would get money. But yeah, as soon as I have money on something, I want the money to win, and then I don't know. So yeah,
You could emotionally hedge yourself enough money to go to the Ohio State game for free if Penn State wins.
I could do that.
But then if Michigan
could do
wins,
that.
then you're like, yeah.
Yeah, then I have to pay for 2 tickets or 3
Right.
tickets. Yeah,
And they're more expensive.
and they're more expensive. Yeah, there's always something. That's my mindset for the last year's national championship game. That's why I ended up going, and Michigan wasn't there because I effed up. But yeah, so that's all we got, boys. Not the greatest slate. Obviously, it's a huge slate for me, a Michigan fan. But these games, if you didn't notice, us talking through them, they're not. I don't feel confident about them. They're tough games to read, in my opinion. As always, I just said there's a couple other games that I'm interested on here that aren't these ranked matchups, but we do talk about the big games. So that's what we got. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. All of our bets, all my bets are on Twitter as well. And again, I'll try to get a couple blogs out this weekend of a couple other games we haven't talked about. And I know, Ethan, you have a lot of Twitter plays out there as well. So you have anything else to add before we close out here?
Yeah. How about that Tommy Tremble first touchdown last night for the Panthers? Ooh, nice ticket cash there.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe my biggest play of the day. What's his name? Bryce Young, over 21 and a half completions. He had 36, 330 yards. God, yeah, the Panthers are back.
They're back.
But
Super Bowl.
But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you do like and subscribe, share. We appreciate it as always. And good luck this weekend. Hopefully your team wins. Go Blue as always, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast. Better in Green.